Dear Chosen One, there is something inside you that is taking control. Something that doesn't shout, doesn't reveal itself, doesn't scare you immediately. But, little by little, it takes over your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions. This force doesn't present itself as an enemy. It disguises itself as comfort, habit, routine. And before you realize it, it is already in command. What you feel as discouragement, what you call procrastination, what you accept as normal, could be the darkness acting from within. And if you don't confront it, it will grow. It will multiply. And when you try to regain control, it may already be too late. The inner darkness doesn't need to bring you down to win. It just needs you to stop observing yourself, to distract yourself, to confuse surviving with living. And in the meantime, your soul is slowly being replaced by fragments of pain, fear, and a wounded ego. This is the silent trap that many never notice. But if you're hearing this now, it's because there is still time. Time to return. Time to see. Time to reclaim what was lost. No matter how far you have drifted, God always leaves a way back for those who have eyes to see and courage to face what dwells in the dark. Before continuing, I have a spiritual request for you. Write the number 444 in the comments now, as a seal of protection for your soul. This number is the symbol of divine alignment between mind, heart, and spirit. If you're ready to free yourself from the invisible voices that control you, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. What is about to be revealed may change the way you see your own existence, and it might be the only chance to recover what was being lost, without you even knowing. The inner darkness doesn't come like a storm, but as a familiar whisper. It quietly settles in the thoughts you repeat without realizing. It's in the excuses you make every day, in the cycles you repeat even though you know they destroy you. It acts like a virus in your consciousness system, occupying empty spaces, infecting decisions, contaminating feelings, and the more you ignore it, the stronger it becomes. The danger was never the scream, it was the silence. The shadow doesn't need to seem threatening. It can come disguised as routine, fatigue, even kindness. And that is exactly why it deceives the strong. Have you ever wondered why you keep returning to the same mistakes, even though you know they take you further from who you are? This isn't coincidence. It's slow possession, an emotional domination built on small concessions. First, you yield out of fear, then for comfort, then by habit. When you realize it, you no longer recognize yourself. The you who began this journey has been replaced. Your eyes still shine, your voice still sounds the same, but something is different. A slight coldness, a certain emptiness, a silence where there once was fire. The soul begins to fade before it disappears. The Bible warns us, "Watch and pray, that you may not enter into temptation." But what is this temptation, if not the subtle deviation from yourself? When you stop observing yourself, stop praying, stop listening to your soul, you open invisible doors. Doors through which the enemy enters without breaking. He doesn't need to break anything. He just needs you to invite him with your indifference. Darkness doesn't act against your will. It becomes your will. And it's at this point that many get lost, thinking they are still in control, when in fact they are already being operated by forces they no longer even name. There is a very fine line between tiredness and surrender, between sadness and submission. And it's in this threshold that darkness operates with mastery. It doesn't want you dead, it wants you obedient, submissive, comfortable. It wants you tired enough not to fight, but functional enough to keep feeding the system of pain, guilt, and escape. And the more you try to just move on, the further you stray from your center. The soul begins to fall asleep. And when it sleeps, who takes the wheel of your life? The wounded ego is the darkness's favorite horse. It seems to protect you, when in reality, it isolates you. It says, don't trust anyone. It says, you don't need help. It says, be strong, even while bleeding inside. But the wounded ego is a traumatized child, steering a ship in the middle of a storm. And darkness knows this. It hides behind your apparent strength, waiting for the right moment to turn the helm. And when it takes over, you begin to sabotage yourself. You choose what destroys you. Distance yourself from those who love you. Reject what heals you. Because you are no longer in control. And perhaps the most frightening thing of all is that this seems normal. You wake up, work, smile, live, but inside there is a hole that grows. A hole where there once was purpose, presence, peace. Darkness doesn't change your life abruptly. It only slowly changes the meaning of things. What was value becomes weight. What was love becomes control. What was faith becomes superstition. It makes you accept a reduced version of yourself. And when you ask, where did I lose myself? It's already too late. The answer is as hidden as you are, but the spirit inside you still whispers. Even when everything seems lost, there is a spark that does not go out. The light does not disappear. It retreats, waiting to be sought, waiting for you to stop everything and look inside with honesty. Because as long as you are too busy to listen to yourself, you will be vulnerable. Vulnerable to the seduction of darkness, which offers shortcuts in exchange for your identity. But your soul is worth more than comfort, worth more than acceptance, worth more than any appearance of normality. It's time to return. You weren't born to be manipulated by feelings you can't even name. But darkness loves it when you don't question what you feel. When you think your anxiety is just part of who you are. When you believe discouragement is just fatigue. It operates in the margins of your emotions, making you accept as truth what is only distortion. And thus, it begins to inhabit you. It inhabits your reactions, your words, your silences, until your life becomes a reflection of an invisible but devastating influence, a battlefield fought within you, and you didn't even realize you were fighting. Many of the behaviors you think are part of your personality are actually remnants of untreated trauma, unseen pain, and internalized lies. Darkness feeds on these gaps, and more, it protects them. Because if you try to look inside and heal these wounds, it loses control. That's why it will keep you distracted, always busy, always waiting for the right time to take care of yourself, which never comes. It wants you to keep spinning, in circles, unaware that you are trapped. Because the worst type of prison is the one you don't even know you're in. Most of the chosen ones who get lost weren't lost because they fell into sin or revolted against the light. They got lost because they fell asleep. They were sedated by distractions, by attachments, by routines that seemed safe. And there, in that gray zone of the soul, darkness began to settle. First, as spiritual laziness, then as emotional confusion, and finally, as identity. They began to say, I am this way. But they weren't. They were corrupted copies of their essence. And this is the real tragedy. When the chosen one forgets who they are, they become vulnerable to any influence, even those that seem good, but serve chaos. Have you ever had that feeling of living, but not really being present? As if your soul were a step behind your body? This isn't just exhaustion. It's spiritual dissociation. It's a clear symptom that parts of you have already been taken. And the only way to recover them is by descending to the center of yourself, without masks, without excuses, without escape. But few have the courage to do this, because looking inside hurts. Facing the truth is painful, and darkness makes it seem easier to keep ignoring. It wants you to believe that fleeing is survival. But, in reality, it's self-destruction in disguise. The silent possession doesn't happen overnight. It is built through small, unconscious choices. Every time you feel anger and don't understand why. Every time you distance yourself from someone you love for no reason. Every time you say yes when you want to say no. Every time you betray your truth to please the world. You give away another part of yourself. And so, the darkness shapes you from the outside in, until the whole world thinks you're fine, and only you know how lost you are. The soul screams in silence, but only those who silence the external noise can hear it. There are moments when the Holy Spirit disturbs us not to punish us, but to awaken us. That anxiety you feel sometimes might not be depression. It could be the spirit in conflict with what is taking your place. And this battle is holy. It's a calling. God doesn't compete with darkness. He waits for you to choose Him. He waits for you to realize. He waits for you to open your eyes and say, "This is not who I am." Because the moment you recognize the falsehood of the darkness, truth begins to emerge. And with it, the power to return to your divine essence. The danger of inner possession is not only spiritual, it is existential. When you forget who you are, all your choices become fragile. You build relationships from lack, not from truth. You make decisions based on fear, not divine direction. And you begin to accept scraps from the world because you've forgotten you were born for the king's table. But within you, there is still a table set. There is still a chair with your name on it. Darkness may try to move you away from it, but it cannot erase your inheritance. And today, right now, you can decide whether to rise and return or continue sleeping. The soul of the chosen one is not lost all at once. It is occupied, little by little. A tolerated negative thought, a repeated lie, an ignored emotion, a silence that should have been broken. The occupation is subtle, progressive, almost imperceptible. But it happens. And when you least expect it, your choices are no longer yours. Your energy is low, your mind is clouded, your faith is cracked. You are doing what you've always done, but you no longer feel anything. The connection has been severed. The temple is being inhabited by another force, and you didn't even notice you handed over the key. The greatest strategy of darkness is to appear safe. It presents itself as a shortcut, a quick relief, an escape. But everything it offers comes with a price, and that price is always your truth. It wants you to trade your light for temporary comfort, to accept emotional crumbs, convenient lies, addictions disguised as freedom. It disguises itself as a friend, but acts as a traitor. And when you realize you're empty, tired, isolated, it has already taken the throne. The enemy doesn't want your pain. It wants your throne. And if you don't occupy that place with awareness, it will occupy it for you. There is a crucial moment in the journey of the chosen one. The moment when they stop and realize they no longer know who they are. This is the true turning point. It's not the fall. It's the clarity. It's when the mirror begins to show the stranger you've become, the reactive, impulsive, disconnected being. But this pain, this shock of awareness, is a gift in disguise, because whoever realizes they are lost has already begun to find themselves, and it is in this moment that heaven draws near. God does not reject broken hearts. On the contrary, He rebuilds from the ruins. Consciousness is the only weapon that darkness cannot manipulate. Because when you observe yourself, you become light. The light of perception dissolves the shadows that once dominated you. Inner vigilance is active prayer. When you begin to listen to yourself, to question yourself, to confront yourself, you interrupt the cycle of possession. You recover territory. You reclaim the temple. And with each small conscious choice, the light inside you grows a little more. It's not about grand gestures. It's about spiritual consistency, about presence, about saying, "This is me. This is no longer me." Darkness cannot resist a spirit that awakens. And awakening here is different from knowing. You can know many things and still be asleep. Awakening is an act of courage. It's stepping out of the illusion that everything is fine and facing the truth. You've been taken, but not by something outside, by something you allowed to grow inside. And this revelation may be painful, but it is liberating. Because as long as you believe you are in control, you are not. Liberation begins with the humility to admit, "I lost myself, but I want to return." And believe me, heaven moves when someone makes this decision. When you declare war on the darkness within you, hell trembles. Because now you've stopped being a victim and become a threat. The moment you decide to observe your thoughts, confront your fears, illuminate your wounds, you begin to undo the invisible dominion. You stop repeating and begin to be reborn. The spiritual battle does not happen outside of you. It happens in every yes you give to your essence, in every no you dare to say to what imprisons you. And the more you choose the light, even with fear, even bleeding, the more the enemy loses territory. Consciousness is the light that reveals the imposter, and he will resist. He will try to make you return to the old cycle. He will tell you it's too late. He will use guilt, tiredness, instant pleasure. But now you know. The true self is awakening, and this self does not bow to fear. It does not negotiate with lies. It does not accept living halfway. This self carries the mark of heaven, the spark that no darkness in the world can extinguish. And that's why you disturb them so much. Because even wounded, even confused, even fallen, you still have light. And this light, chosen one, is what will guide you back. The serpent doesn't enter shouting. It enters slithering. And this is the mystery of inner possession. It camouflages itself so subtly that you believe its voice is your own. It speaks with your tone, thinks with your logic, desires with your impulses, and thus it perpetuates itself, hides, strengthens. There is no external exorcism that can free a chosen one who still protects their own darkness. True liberation begins when you can say, "This thought is not mine. This emotion does not represent me." From there, you stop being the stage of darkness and become the altar of light. It's important to understand that the spiritual battle is not a theater of ghosts. It is a confrontation of consciousnesses. And the ego is the most accessible channel darkness has. It wants you to react, to justify yourself, to attack, to flee. It feeds on your haste, your anger, your need to be right. That's why many chosen ones are dominated not by external spirits, but by internal fragments that have never been healed. Healing begins when you stop wanting to defeat others and decide to defeat yourself. The greatest enemy is the one you feed with your own excuses. Spiritual vigilance is not paranoia. It is wisdom. It is the active awareness that forces are trying to make you forget who you are. It is keeping your eyes open even when everything in you wants to close. It is questioning yourself even when you think you're right. It is praying when everything seems fine, precisely because it is when everything seems fine that the enemy acts the most. The Holy Spirit doesn't shout, it whispers. And to hear it, you need to silence the noise of vanity, haste, and comparison. The soul needs silence to stay whole. Without this silence, the impostor speaks louder. Jesus was tempted in the desert, not in the palace. This teaches us that vulnerability is the soil where the test manifests. Darkness waits for you to be hungry, tired, alone. To suggest shortcuts, it tells you, turn stones into bread. But it's not bread. It's addiction. It's escape. It's vanity. And if you yield, you may satisfy the body, but you lose the soul. Darkness offers you everything that shines, but it hides the price it charges, your identity. The question the enemy will always ask is the same. If you are the Son of God, because he knows that if you forget who you are already defeated. The ego loves to live by appearance, but the soul only survives in truth. You may seem strong, seem fine, seem enlightened, but if inside you are empty, sooner or later the shell will crack. Darkness invests everything to keep you maintaining appearances, because it knows that the more you fake it, the less you heal. Appearance imprisons, truth liberates, and only truth connects you to the light that truly transforms. That's why God is not impressed by your words. He looks at the heart. And if there is still sincerity inside, if there is still hunger for purity, He will rescue you. The awakening is not magical, it is daily. It is getting up every day and consciously choosing not to surrender to internal lies. It is observing the negative thought and not following it. It is feeling the impulse to flee and deciding to stay. It is noticing the fear and still acting. This daily choice builds a field of light inside you that repels the darkness. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be awake. Because consciousness, when constant, becomes a sword. And a conscious soul, even fragile, is more powerful than 1,000 sleeping spirits. The light that stays lit is the one that guides all those who still stumble in the darkness. You are not weak for having gotten lost. You are strong for having resisted, without even knowing. Many would have given up long ago. But you're here. You're hearing this. You're awakening. And that says it all. Darkness tried, but it didn't succeed, because inside you there was still faith. There was still a memory of who you really are, and that was enough to attract this message to you. It's not a coincidence. It's a calling. Heaven is calling you back to itself, and now the choice is yours. You return and claim your throne, or you continue to give space to the shadow that wants to rule in your place. It's time to make it clear that darkness is not something that just happens to you. It is, in fact, a choice you made. To stop observing yourself, to stop healing, to stop taking a stand. Don't be deceived. Darkness does not force you to be someone you're not. It asks for permission to take control. And for a long time, perhaps you accepted this entry without realizing it. But now, the truth is before you. Now you know that it is no longer time to wait for something to happen. It is time for you to act. Returning to your essence starts when you decide to break this cycle. And for that, you must first decide, I no longer accept being ruled by this. When you align with your truth, the light that already resides in you begins to shine brighter. It doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. You don't need to seek healing anywhere other than your own being. You are not lost. You have just forgotten yourself. The moment you recognize the darkness and decide not to let it take over is the moment you are liberated. And just like the sun always rises after the night, your soul will rise again. This is the truth that no one can take from you. You have the power to restart at any moment. And your restart begins now. Maybe you're afraid to face yourself. Maybe you're afraid of finding the remaining shadows. But the truth is that there's no more time to hesitate. What's at stake is not just your happiness, but your identity, your greater purpose, your divine mission. And you didn't come here to be a fragmented version of yourself. You came to be whole, to be light. True power comes from the courage to face yourself, to rise again, and to not allow anything or anyone to take your place. Now you know that the greatest battle is not against the world. It's against the faded version of who you could be. The darkness inside you may even try to hide in other disguises, but truth, when recognized, always prevails. You are already stronger than you think. Every small step toward your truth is a step toward freedom. And every time you refuse to hide, the shadow loses more ground. Remember, the spiritual battle is not won by those who flee. It is won by those who stand firm, even with pain, even with fear. And you, chosen one, are stronger than ever. What seemed to be a burden is, in fact, your armor. Darkness can no longer dominate you. You already have the key to unlock the door to your soul and reconnect with what is divine within you. Now, the only thing left is to open this door. It doesn't matter what has happened up until now. What matters is the now, the moment you decide to take your life back, the moment you choose to be who you are, without fear, without excuses, the moment you rise and say, I am light, and darkness will no longer dominate me. And your journey doesn't end here. It's just beginning. So, I ask you, write now in the comments, I am light, as a public testimony of this decision. This is more than words. It's a spiritual decree. It's your way of affirming that you are ready to return to your power. Tell the universe, tell yourself, that you will no longer allow anything to take from you what is rightfully yours. Take this moment and leave a like below if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel right now and activate notifications to continue receiving the strength you need on this journey. This is not just a video, it's a portal of transformation, and you've already entered it. Here, you are not alone. We are together on this path of self-awareness, transformation, and awakening. And if you know someone who also needs to hear this message, share this video. It might be the key to the change that person needs. I want to deeply thank everyone who supports us through the Buy Me a Coffee link. Your support helps this message reach more lives and helps us improve the content on this channel. If you also want to be a supporter, our link is pinned in the first comment. In the videos suggested on the screen, we will continue to explore the hidden truths, those that can liberate you once and for all from the silent possession of the soul. So, if you're ready for the next level, stay with us and click on the screen now to continue this spiritual journey. Heaven moves in your favor, and you are just beginning to realize the power you carry. Thank you, and may God bless you.